All right, let's talk about something we all know, maybe a little too well, procrastination. We're going to use Tim Urban's fantastic framework from his TED Talk to really pull back the curtain on what's going on in our heads when we put things off. And it all starts with a story that I'm guessing is going to sound pretty familiar.
So put yourself in these shoes. You've got this massive 90-page senior thesis to write. And the good news? You have a whole year to do it. A whole year. The plan seems obvious, right? You just map it all out, nice and easy.
And yeah, on paper, the plan looked great. Start off slow, gradually ramp up, and then have a big, strong finish. But reality had a very different plan. The work just got pushed and pushed and pushed until somehow the entire 90-page paper was written in the last 72 hours, all thanks to 2 sleepless nights.
Now, this whole journey, from a year of good intentions to 3 days of absolute chaos, it's more than just a funny story. It's the perfect window into how the procrastinator's mind actually works. So, what was the end result of this crazy, superhuman sprint?
Was it a masterpiece forged in the fires of the last minute? No, not even close. The thesis was, in his own words, very, very bad. And this outcome, it just completely shatters that myth we tell ourselves that we do our best work under pressure. And that forces us to ask a way bigger question.
I mean, why do we do this to ourselves? We know we should start. We know waiting just leads to pain and, a worse result. So what is happening inside our skulls that stops us? Well, to answer that, we have to take a look inside the procrastinator's brain.
So Urban suggests that the procrastinator's brain is run by a slightly different crew of characters. Let's meet the 2 main players who are in a constant battle for the steering wheel.
So on one side, you have the rational decision maker. This is the adult in the room, right? The part of you that gets the big picture, makes sensible plans, and wants to do the productive thing. But in the procrastinator's brain, there's someone else fighting for control, the instant gratification monkey. And let me tell you, the monkey has a completely different agenda.
The monkey's whole philosophy on life is incredibly simple. It all boils down to 2 things. Is it easy and is it fun? If the answer is yes, the monkey is all in. But if the answer is no, well, that's when he grabs the wheel and steers you somewhere else. And that somewhere else has a name.
It's called the dark playground. And you know this place. It's where you end up watching random YouTube videos or scrolling through feeds when you know you should be working. And here's the key. The fun you have there isn't real fun. It's totally spoiled by all the guilt and dread and anxiety because you know you're not supposed to be there.
Okay, so this raises a really big question. If the monkey is always hijacking the controls and driving us into this dark playground, how does a procrastinator ever manage to do anything hard? How does the rational decision maker ever get control back?
Well, it turns out there's a third character in this little mental play. And this character is kind of the procrastinator's secret weapon. They're very strange, but effective guardian angel, the panic monster. The panic monster is basically asleep most of the time. Couldn't care less what's going on. But it has a very specific trigger, a deadline getting way too close, the threat of public embarrassment, or some kind of career disaster. When that danger gets real, it suddenly wakes up.
And here's the crucial part. The panic monster is the one and only thing the instant gratification monkey is terrified of. So when it wakes up and starts screaming, the monkey just drops everything and runs for the hills. And this finally clears the way for the rational decision maker to grab the wheel and get to work.
The effect is just night and day. Before the panic monster shows up, the monkey's in charge, and productivity is basically 0. But the second the panic kicks in, the monkey is gone, and productivity shoots through the roof. And that is how a 90-page paper gets written in 72 hours.
So there you have it. That's the procrastinator system. It's stressful, it's chaotic, it's really not pretty. But for tasks that have a nice, hard deadline, this crazy system actually gets the job done. But what happens when the most important things in life don't have deadlines? This is where the whole system has its biggest, most dangerous weakness. What happens when there's absolutely nothing to wake the panic monster up?
You see, there are really 2 kinds of procrastination. There's the short-term, deadline-driven kind. It's stressful, sure, but the panic monster shows up to contain the damage. But then there's the second type, long-term procrastination, on things with no deadline at all. And this is where the procrastination can just go on forever. It's quiet, it's private, and the panic monster never comes to save you. And what kind of things are we talking about here? Well, usually the most important things. Starting that business you dream about, learning an instrument, actually exercising and taking care of your health, nurturing a relationship, or just seeing your family. There are no deadlines for any of that, so the monkey can keep you in the dark playground indefinitely.
And the consequence of this is really profound. It's not just about missing your goals. This kind of invisible, long-term procrastination, it can leave you feeling like a spectator in your own life, just sort of watching the years go by without ever really chasing what you want. And this led Urban to a really powerful thought. He realized, you know what? Maybe there's no such thing as a non-procrastinator. Maybe every single one of us is putting something important off simply because there isn't a deadline attached to it. So the monkey's sneakiest, most powerful trick isn't making you pull an all-nighter. It's convincing you that you can always start that big, important life goal tomorrow.
To make this feel real, Urban talks about a life calendar. Each little box on it represents 1 week in a 90-year life. That's it. Only about 4,680 weeks in total. And when you look at it that way, you realize there aren't actually that many boxes, and a bunch of them are already filled in. It's a very clear reminder that our time is finite.
So, what's the takeaway here? Well, it's not about trying to kill the monkey. He's part of us. It's really all about awareness. We just have to stay conscious of what's going on in our heads and recognize when the monkey is grabbing the wheel, especially when we know there's no panic monster coming to help out.
And that brings us to the final question, the one we all kind of have to ask ourselves. Looking at that calendar of weeks and knowing that monkey is always around, what are the important things, the non-urgent things that you've been putting off? What are you really procrastinating on?